Hi, I'm Ellie and welcome back to my Toyota Hiace I have called Arcadia, which I've just completed self-converting into a camper van for traveling in. And this is part 2 of my van conversion time-lapse video. I will be doing a voiceover explaining what I'm doing along the way, but if you just want an even more sped up time-lapse video, then I will link a completed version of that in the description below. There will also be my van tour down there and individual step-by-step videos of each part of the van conversion process. So if you're interested in any of those, you can check those out in the description. I'm Ellie Wilder and you're watching Wilder in Motion. So picking back up where I left off last week with the completed window installation, I decided to make some curtains that would give me some light and some privacy. So to achieve this, I used a combination of some sheer white mesh that already had a channel for the curtain hanging wire in it, and attached some greeny blue solid fabric to this piece to create one curtain that would give me that combination of light and privacy. So I measured and cut each curtain to size, hemmed the green fabric, and then sewed the two together. To hang them, I drilled a hole into the metal of the van and screwed in a screw halfway so that I would have something to hang the wire onto. Since the wire has a bit of a spring in the middle, I could cut it a bit shorter so that it didn't sag, and then screw a hook into the end and then thread this through the channel and hook this over the screws that I installed. And I did this for the rear window, side window, between the front and the cab, and to cover my wardrobe area as well. Onto the kitchen, I reclaimed this chest of drawers, painted it to match my color scheme, filled in the holes where the previous handles were, and then attached some new brass handles that matched in with the theme of my van. Now this drawers wasn't quite high enough to reach the bench top height that I wanted it to be at, so I cut some pieces of melamine and glued and screwed them above to create another little area of storage to bring it up to the 90 centimeter height. Then I created a panel to go at the front, painted it, and added a handle to match the color scheme, and some hinges to access this storage, and to keep things closed, a rollable catch, the same as I've been using on the other parts of my van. I then cut some pieces of modwood, which is wood look plastic, and glued these underneath my side step to give the kitchen area a bit of support, as this is going to be glued above this area. I also used some L brackets to definitely anchor everything securely into the floor. To go next to my drawers, I also wanted a cupboard area, so I used two pieces of melamine to act as the side and back of the cupboard, and created some doors as well, and used the same hinges that I've used on the top section of the drawer area. I then glued and tacked some felt onto the bottom to stop the doors from scraping against the floor, and added the same brass handles to match in with the rest of the drawers in the kitchen. For the left-hand side door, I anchored this directly into the drawers that were already existing. I then cut out a little side step to make it easier to get in and out of the van, before gluing down my other two wall panels of the cupboard in place, and using a couple more L brackets to anchor it right down into the subfloor as well. Then I used a couple of drawer catches, the same rollable ones that I'd used on the top storage area, and another one to keep the doors closed over the cabinet area. I just secured these with a little piece of modwood as well, just to bring it to the right height for the doors. And that's my completed cabinet section. So onto the bench top, I wanted a solid wood, light colored bench top, and I had it pre-cut into two pieces, and then I cut out a little notch for the door frame, put some glue on top of the kitchen area and sat it on top. And then to make sure it was extra secure, I also used some L brackets underneath to anchor everything together. For the sink, I measured where I wanted it and just cut about 2 centimeters in from the rim so there would be a bit of overhang, and cut this area out with a jigsaw. Gave that a bit of a sand and then decided where I wanted my tap, and then used a large drill bit to drill a hole in the bench top. For the plumbing underneath the sink area, I needed to custom make a T-joint, so I used several different plumbing pieces to make a joint that would allow me to attach the 2 inlets from the tap to the 1 outlet of the water pump. Next, I installed a 12-volt water pump just inside the cupboard underneath the bench top and secured my tap into place and connected up the hot and cold, which is actually going to come from the same tepid water source, and I'm using my T-joint to act as an inlet to this. And this water is going to come through the water pump, so I used a piece of irrigation tubing to connect that. I ended up actually changing this for a reinforced piece of tubing since the water pump is quite high pressure. Then for the other side of the pump, I used another piece of irrigation tubing to access the fresh water, and then a weighted piece in the middle that allows my tap to auto retract. And to stop this from all swinging around, just a couple of brackets attached into the wall. To hold the sink in place, I ran some silicone around the hole that I had cut out, and I also used a couple of brackets to secure it underneath the bench. Then for the outlet, again, a couple of different size joiners allowed me to get it to a size that it could flow easily into the 10-litre grey water tank, and there at the front you can see the 20-litre freshwater tank. And since this is also the place where I'm going to be storing my toilet, I also attached a toilet roll holder to the inside of the cupboard door. The second piece of the bench top is not fixed, it is attached to the wall via some hinges. So to do this, I chiseled out a section for the hinges to sit in, and then used some long screws to anchor down into this solid wood block. I pre-drilled into the wall where the hinges lined up, and then used a combination of liquid nails and screws to securely attach the bench top into the wall. And then this rests on my storage cabinet. To hold it up properly, I've got a couple of cleats and some Venetian blind cord that just keep everything in place when I want it in the upright position. The stove is positioned next to the sink, and I installed this by measuring the location, cutting out with a jigsaw, and then screwing some holes for this to securely be anchored down into the bench top. And once I was happy with the placement, I used a couple of washers to attach beneath. And then there is a gas tube coming out the back. This connects to a gas tank underneath the seating area, and this has a safety gauge on it as well. For a table, I decided to make a custom folding table out of an ironing board. So I started with just using a spare piece of wood, covering it with some contact, and then I altered the ironing board to cut off any excess metal pieces that I didn't need, and used some liquid nails to stick the flat surface of the bench top on top. And then this stores in my narrow storage cabinet and just folds out when I want it, and folds away nice and easily into that cabinet as well. I positioned my solar panels on the roof in front of my max fan. I first marked up where I wanted the holes to be, and then used a metal drill bit to drill down into the roof. To give them something more secure to anchor into, I stuck some mod wood on the underside using some liquid nails, and once that was dry I also pre-drilled down into that as well. And I cut out a section for the connectors of the solar panels to go down into. And to secure the solar panels, I used a combination of butyl tape and the screws provided with these Renogy solar panels. And then the connectors just drop down into the hole that I pre-cut. And to seal this, I used a piece of bathroom rubber, some butyl tape, and some silicone, and then a plastic modified lid to go over the top with some more silicone, and then some additional silicone on the inside just to make sure everything is 100% watertight. If you want to know more about my van electrics or any of the DIYs you've seen in this video, then I will link those videos in the description below, as well as my completed van tour where I take you through everything. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting or entertaining or enjoyable. I've now embarked on my van journey, so I will have more van life vids and vlogs coming to you every single Saturday. So if you want to be a part of the journey, then be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.